Hey there. So I felt called to make this video, even though I'm a little bit tired. I've just had this thought that's been arising in my mind quite a bit today. Mind you, I already did a writing about this probably a couple times, but I did one recently, so I kind of wanted to make a video. I'm sure some of you have heard of the phrase where two or more gather. I'm not sure if you know that it references the Bible and talks about where two or more gather, there I am, which means, divinity, the Holy Spirit. Where two are in agreement, then stuff happens. There's a few different aspects of this I think I want to address, but I'm going to try and keep it short because, like I said, I'm tired, even though it's only 8 o'clock. It's actually saying a lot. It doesn't actually mean necessarily that it needs to be two beings that are awakened or anything. You can be around anybody, and it could be two people that are, because we all carry the power of manifestation, whether we're aware of it or not. And that's why the world looks the way that it does, because we're all going around co-creating with one another all the time, agreeing to things that maybe we shouldn't agree to or agree with, validating people in states of suffering. Like you'll hear somebody complain about something, then you'll join in. Yeah, that don't sound good. I don't like that, and I'm going to fight against that. And well, there you go. There's two of you, and the creative power of that is like superbly intense. Also, when people are like arguing and you have one person that's upset and then the other one gets upset, and now you've got two people that are upset, and the co-creative energy of that powerhouse is extraordinarily creative and can do a lot of damage in the life of both of those people. And if they have a life together, then it can be catastrophic in all sorts of different ways. But of course, now you can take it to a point where, there's somebody that's awakened and someone that's not, or awakening and not awakening. And you'll hear somebody maybe that's not understanding how to focus on gratitude and the blessings, and they'll be talking about things that they don't like in their lives. And the other thing is, like when you're awakening, you have a much more powerful energy, which is why sometimes you really feel and you can see how you control the world. And you hear somebody talk about something negative, and if a part of you energetically or even verbally agrees with them, or doesn't speak the truth or bring the true energy into the situation of a state of neutrality or unconditional compassion for the place the person's in, that and how they can't see their creative power and how they're creating it, the person that is awakened will actually really enhance the outcome of that person and make whatever it is that they're going through enhanced in a big way. And I think that's why during this awakening process, we begin to learn the absolute importance of staying vigilant with our thoughts and holding the space that we know would be a more positively creative space to help pull them out of whatever it is that they might be stuck thinking or feeling or living through. Because we know that it can affect great change if we're not in agreement with the feelings that are being had, and whatever the scenario is. Like as a small silly example, someone assuming that something's going to take forever, like, oh, this is going to be forever, or I've been waiting for so long, and someone like myself going, oh no, it's just going to go by in a blink of an eye, you know. Everything for me goes by really quickly, and everything's going to be super smooth, and it's going to be over before you know it, so don't even trip out. You know, like, that's kind of like holding our power rather than being in agreement with that situation. And though it might not create massive blessings, although I've seen it happen, you know, like if the other party is in agreement to what I'm saying and they can just release the resistance that they have, then yeah, some like crazy, amazing shit can happen. So, I mean, that's what that is. But then another perspective that isn't like the last example I'll give about the purpose of the resistance of there being two or more. If there's like two people that are on the awakening path and they know that, then all they are is like a powerhouse to one another. You know, even if for a second one of them slips up, then the other one's there to reassure them, like, you know how this works, everything's cool, you know, there's nothing to worry about. And in most cases, like myself, I can see the ripples and the patterns, and I know what patterns equal what, so I can be like a simple reminder, well, you don't want to really invite that to the table if that's not what it is that you want to see, because we have the power to change this, or at least focus on something different to bring a different outcome, you know. So there's beauty in that, in having awakened beings around one another, and being able to hold each other accountable, and or hold each other up whenever that time comes, because it's pretty unlikely that two are going to be in the same funk, especially if they're aware of the power of thought and focus and frequency and vibration. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for that. But now I'm going to go to this other thing and kind of give a brief example of why it is on this awakening path. You know, there's so many potentially dangerous options to choose from in understanding what's going on. And there's a lot of people that stop at certain stages where they're like, oh, I'm God and I'm all there is, and they think that everything is just like a simulated show of who they are and what they think, and they have this small little part of them that forgets that that same thing is happening for everybody else. It's not just a you thing, it's a happening thing simultaneously at all times, which is what really makes me feel like it's that much more profound of a universe and earth that we live on, because it isn't just us that's God, it's everything together as one that's God, and it's all one. So without all of it together as one, then there's separation, of course. But there are several aspects of this stage where, and don't get me wrong, isolation and solitude is very pertinent for our growth and our awakening, and us really getting to the root of who we are and the way our brain operates and how we create, and how to learn how to better navigate our creations and the creation process. But there is a purpose for the stopping point that some get to where, and I've been there, like a couple times I've dipped in thinking, oh, you know, I think it might be better off if I just stay in solitude and isolate myself from my reflections at times, because it's just way TMI, you know, it's really intense, and sometimes the reflective process can be very triggering because it brings up everything that we're trying to heal from, everything that might scare us, or that is fairly intimidating, or a reflection of the distortions that run in the world. And we really do believe that being isolated is the best idea. And we accept the fact, especially when we see, you know, the ratio of those that are awakening and those that haven't yet, depending on where you go, of course, that it might be the best idea to stay in solitude and to kind of keep ourselves in our own space and not join forces with anybody, or, you know, be around other people too much. And don't get me wrong, it's freaking intense, and I love my solitude, and I love quiet time and time for reflection and whatnot. But I can see how, and without thinking conspiracy theory sorts of thoughts, but how that's just an ideal situation for those that would not want two powerhouses to be in the same space, because they could create massive change in their ripples, in their co-creative abilities, and just in their lives alone. But that's just not the way this world works. So you get two people that have very high frequency and vibration in the same space, then the toroidal field is massive, and it spreads through the biofield and out of their breath and into existence. And the world that they see, the world that they feel, the world that they create and ripple out is a massive powerhouse of healing and awakening just with their presence alone. It's not like these people have to go around preaching things to anybody, just being who they are and allowing themselves to experience bliss and love and peace and compassion and full support for one another on their path and their journey, is something I think that some might want us to believe is not what we should be doing, and for a reason, you know. So to be convinced that isolation and solitude is the best answer indefinitely, I think is a distraction. And it might even just be like the last stage, you know, like to the awakening, realizing. And that's why some, you know, hippie communities or spiritual communities will finally learn to gather together, because they know that they're stronger together than they are alone, and they can do more in every arena of their life in accordance to their passions and the things that they desire. And if nothing else, they'll be able to experience a loving and supportive environment where they're around a healthy reflection and something that would be good to be around. And again, I understand how hard that is to get to, because, you know, I've experienced feeling many times that isolation and solitude is the best option, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all. I don't think anything is really the end-all be-all, but there's power in numbers. And like I said, where two or more gather, there I am. And so all of us should probably try and keep that in consideration in our endeavors in life. And, you know, obviously use our discernment on who are the people that would be best to be around, because we do find that we hang out with some people and the equations may not be very healthy for either party, and that the energy exchange is definitely not equal. And I'm a big believer in equal reciprocity in this world. Like, it is what it is, you know, we get what we give. But I just wanted to make mention to that. I know I've done it in writing before, but I figured a video might be a little bit better. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a beautiful night.